This is part one, texture and layering for large abstracts. This video is going to cover the inspiration and the way I start many times my series, my large abstracts. So let's come on over to my studio, and I hope you enjoy this video. I once heard this artist say that the idea is not to look for inspiration, but to find it. And when she said that, I thought, what does that really mean? And how does that relate to me in my artistic practice? So I thought for a while, and I thought for me, it's allowing inspiration to come naturally through these experiences I have, my emotions, and my own personal observations, rather than forcing myself to seek out this inspiration. That's why when I look at other artists' paintings on social media, while I love to do that, the inspiration just doesn't come from there. It's more than that. It comes from everything that I feel, who I am, how I interpret my emotions, and through just experiences that I've had. So I tried to think, how could I express this to you all? Right now I am creating some larger paintings, and I'm going to be taking them from a journal experience into these wooden panels, these thin wooden panels, and doing quite a few of them, and letting this creativity and the inspiration within me bring out some ideas for the larger painting. So this is part one, and you see I'm starting with a journal, and just, even though some of this journal painting doesn't make it to the next step, it's all about the process. So let me just kind of go through some steps for you, and I will have an ebook for you that if you watch this video to the very end, I will give you a link where you can get it for free on my my downloads that I put out. So the first thing is to trust the process. Instead of my chasing these ideas by looking on Pinterest and looking on Instagram, which is not a bad place to start, I let the inspiration for my paintings emerge organically through painting in my journal, through experimenting and using my life experiences that are unique to me, work through me, through my brush onto the paper. The second is to pay attention to the textures, to the colors I like. I love neutrals. A lot of the last couple months I worked on flowers, which I did that primarily for you all. But what I really love are the big, large abstracts and the neutrals. So I'm paying attention to the textures, the colors, and the emotions that come from my daily surroundings, and how I interpret when I look at nature, when I look at the sunset, when I look at trees, the things that I actually love in my world. Those are the things that I search for as concepts when I'm creating in my series. And then I let the work lead me. Sometimes inspiration happens during my creating of my journal or my smaller paintings. And instead of trying to force it onto the canvas, I just let it happen. So letting the work lead you is critically important in this journey and this process. Then the last thing is so important, is to embrace spontaneity. Even my mistakes, when I do something I don't like, my accidents, or these subconscious marks that end up on the canvas. drips that I don't mean to have drip down on the canvas, they can actually spark a new like artistic direction. For example, when I painted the painting Emotional Chatter, or I Was Gaslighted, and I'll put those paintings up here, the inspiration surfaced from within me rather than something that I looked for externally. Let me just explain in my terms what the difference between looking and finding is. And this is just from my own artistic journey. And you may have something different. But looking is actively searching for an idea, often with like this pressure or this expectation. That's when I go in and I start looking at other people's artwork, or I start looking at Pinterest or Instagram, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But finding is letting the inspiration arise naturally through these experiences, emotions, and intuition. And even when you're taking note, if you're looking at Pinterest and Instagram and you see paintings that like touch your soul, just jot down why. Why is it that they're sparking your interest as opposed to other people's art? I look at shapes, I look at textures. That's what excites me. And so when I'm letting inspiration arise naturally through my experiences of what touched my soul, that's when the creation of my artwork tends to happen for me. So for me, it's about surrounding myself with inspirational books, papers, people, even music that inspires my soul, because all those things start to bring out from within what it is that is creating this excitement for me. So in this part 2, I pulled up these 12 by 12 panels. Now these are very thin panels. This is like a 1/4 inch wood, and I've used a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch. And I like these because I've even sold these at times to people when I have a sale, and I have these to the side because people like to see when an artist has some things that they've been working on. As you can see, my water is very dirty, and I don't mind that when it comes to working on my neutrals and black and whites. And I don't have a plan with these. These are just some panels to just paint on and let my creativity and mind run. And so you're going to see me, what I'm going to be using is a lot of white paint. I covered these in gesso first of all, and then I grabbed some pencils. There's some charcoal, and there's some graphite, and there's even a red one there. You'll see me grab a couple different types of paints to let them blend together, but as these are neutrals, I don't go into any other heavy colors. I do grab some paper from a book and add that in because it just felt good. And then at the end, I even grab some texture, and I'll let you see me paint while I turn on some music. I am so excited to share 3 of my newest art journals. These 3 are based on my landscape scheme. I'll leave the link to where you can find these on my Amazon store, but this year I put numbers on each of the pages. Periodically I'll have a quotation by me, maybe a saying, something inspirational, and it's a little more personal than the ones I've had in the last years. I just love creating when I can feel that there's these moments where there's no pressure and just allow the painting to unfold naturally. And that's what I feel like I'm doing here. It's not about creating something specific, but more about translating emotions into texture and movement, and even adding the different tones that I might be using. As I mentioned, I'm using a neutral palette, very soft, muted neutrals. There's some shades of the grays because, of course, that gets blended with the white and the blacks that I'm putting down. It's like it's a reflection, a sense of calmness, depth, and just pure painting for the joy of creating something. It's like something so raw about working this way, where every brushstroke and every mark that I make comes from a place rather than from any made up thought external reference, if you know what I mean. I try not to control the outcome at this point, really throughout the whole painting, because I'm focusing on being present in the moment. And I'm watching how every brush stroke or every mark interacts with the past mark that I just made, and how the layers build upon each other. And a lot of what I'm creating here is how the negative spaces play a role in the composition. I, may pull out other tools like palette knives, or you see me with one tool there that has like these fingers on it, and it's like silicone fingers, and they make some very soft marks. And I'm not using a lot of real thick white paint, but it's enough that there's marks that can be made. I grabbed a jar of coarse pumice gel from Golden, and it'll take 24 hours for this to dry. So I'm going to put it on a couple of them just to add some texture. And on top of adding paper and maybe some burlap or handmade papers, I love this. What I didn't do on this one is draw into that, and that's always kind of fun. You take a pencil or charcoal or graphite and you draw once it dries. But I'm adding this to several of the paintings just to give it a fun texture. And if you leave it up, like when it dries, you can brush your hand over it and some of it rubs off. You can even grab some sandpaper and knock some of the points down, or leave it. And it's just, to me, it's a beautiful texture that I will use over and over again in my paintings. All right, we're at the point now where I put on the coarse pumice gel. And of course, there's a lot of different types of fiber or medium that you can put on here, but it's very dry. It's quite thick. Some of it could rub off. But let's take a look at adding some more paint to that and finish them up, and let these be good inspiration for larger paintings. I think I'm just going to add, my brush had some blue in it. Should change my water, but I'm not going to. Okay. I'm going to maybe leave some of that. Because I love that texture. I'm going to get another brush. Okay, and just go over this black. Let that soak down in. Now I'm doing black and white paintings, so I could have done anything, but I'm liking that. And since it's dry now, I can take my graphite or charcoal and add some of that. And I like that. I like the look of that. Let's do another one. So with this, this is the thicker, and then you can also, I might want to do the high flow white. Gives it a slightly different set of properties. I'm leaving some of the wording up there. Just marking. Oop. Okay. I may want to do a little gray down here on top of that. Okay, so let's again leave that for now. And here's, I think this is where we left off on the other one. Let's decide what we're going to do with this. I think adding a nice splot. Leaving some very rough that's very rough, and I like that. So here's one of the last ones I put texture on. I'm going to kind of cover up some of that line. Okay. Okay, now and play with the others. I'm going to add some more, kind of blend that in. All right, so there we're at. Let's let these dry. And in part 2, we will take these and take them a little bit further and use these as inspirations to what larger paintings we want to do. And I'm really liking this. I'm liking the roughness of these. So thank you so much for watching. Again, next week we're going to jump into at least one larger painting. I haven't created it yet, so I don't know how many. But I wanted to share, again, the link, Finding Inspiration Instead of Looking for It. It's a mini ebook. It's 8 pages long. Here is the link. It will be below in the description to click on it. And the free code is inspiration. If you don't put the code in at checkout, you will be asked to pay for it, which some of you are so kind to pay for it so that you help me out, but that is so not necessary. I want to give this to you as a gift. So I'll see you next week, and leave me a comment if this was helpful. Comments really help grow my channel. Thank you.